Chronicles of the Grim Reaper, Through the Current, by Griz Calderon. Clara sat on the thin mattress in the corner of her room, her back against the wall, her knees drawn up beneath her arms. The room was bare, nothing more than a narrow space with a floor worn by years of pacing. A tiny window set high in the wall let in only a sliver of light, its bars cutting the daylight into thin strips. She wondered again why she was there, how long she would be kept, and what had led her to this place. The doctors had written words she never heard before: depression, schizophrenia, multiple personalities. Perhaps she was one, perhaps another. No one seemed certain. Each man with a clipboard had his own theory, and each insisted on his treatment. Today, hers would begin. The door opened with the sound of keys. Two attendants entered, their shoes clicking against the floor. Their uniforms were plain, their faces impassive, rehearsed for the work they carried out daily. Without a word, one gestured for her to rise. When she hesitated, the other reached for her arm, firm but not violent, and guided her forward. She was barefoot, her hair unkempt, her gown loose and wrinkled. They brought a wheelchair, its metal frame cold against her skin as she sat. The wheels turned with a groan as they pushed her into the hallway. The corridor stretched long before them, lined with doors and barred windows. Some doors were ajar, revealing other patients sitting motionless on beds, staring at nothing, their faces hollow. Others shuffled in place, whispering to themselves or crying softly. From within some rooms came a low murmur of voices, from others the sharp echo of a sudden scream. The smell of disinfectant mingled with the sourness of unwashed bodies. Clara's hands trembled against the chair's arms as she was wheeled onward. The attendants did not speak to her, only to one another, their words clipped and clinical. Finally, they stopped before a wide door and pushed it open. The room was brighter than the halls, light reflecting off white tiles and steel. In its center stood a narrow bed of metal, fitted with thick leather straps at the wrists, ankles, and across the chest. At the head of the bed stood a machine, a strange, humming apparatus of wires and dials. Coils rested in metal cups, cords coiled like serpents across the floor. Beside it stood a tray of instruments, each piece polished, each set in its place. A doctor entered with two assistants. A light strapped to his forehead glared against Clara's eyes. He flipped through pages on his clipboard, muttering instructions as the others adjusted the machine. Clara's breathing quickened. Her heart thudded against her ribs. She shook her head, her lips forming words that came out as whispers. "No, please. I don't understand." The attendants lifted her from the wheelchair and laid her on the bed. The leather was cold against her skin. She struggled, weak against their practiced motions, as the straps fastened around her wrists, her ankles, her chest. Her cries echoed off the tiled walls but brought no hesitation. The doctor nodded once. A band was fitted across her forehead, electrodes pressed against her temples. Gel smeared cool on her skin. The cords were clipped in place. She felt the weight of the machine pressing on the air around her. "Hold her steady," the doctor said. The switch was thrown. Her body convulsed as the current tore through her. Muscles locked, teeth clenched, eyes rolled upward. The pain was beyond anything she had known. Sharp, unrelenting, like her very being was cracking apart. She gasped. Then darkness swallowed her. When she opened her eyes again, the room blurred. For a moment, she thought she saw him. A tall figure at the corner of the room, cloaked in black, a scythe glinting faintly in the electric light. He stood unmoving, watching. She thought she must be dying. But then as her body trembled on the bed. A calm pressed into her chest. Her pain loosened. Her fear softened. She was no longer in the white room, but standing in a sunlit field. Her children ran before her, their laughter rising like music. She reached for them, tears slipping down her cheeks as she watched them run and play, free and untouched by sorrow. The next shock ripped her back. The voices returned, the light above her head, the straps cutting her wrists. Again the current surged. Again she screamed. Again she saw him. And again he calmed her, carrying her to that field where her children waited. Each time she thought she could not endure another moment, he lifted her away, if only for a breath. When the session ended, Clara lay limp, her gown damp with sweat, her hair clinging to her face. The straps were loosened, and her body was guided back into the wheelchair. As she was wheeled into the hallway, her head lolled to one side. At the far end of the corridor, she saw him once more. The Reaper, tall and dark, waiting at the door of her room. As they pushed her past, he inclined his head ever so slightly, as if to say, "I see you. I am here." Days passed, then weeks. Each brought the same routine: shock, medicine, questions from doctors. Her body weakened, her voice grew thin. And always, when she thought she could not endure, the Reaper came. He never spoke, but his presence filled her with a quiet she could not explain. He gave her memories of happier days, her children laughing, the warmth of her husband's hand, moments that reminded her she had once been loved. Her family visited. At first, her husband came alone. The children were not allowed inside. He was told she was improving, though she begged each time to be taken home. "Not yet," the doctors said. Always not yet. Months passed. Her husband was finally permitted to see her. She looked at him through tired eyes, sadness etched into her face. She felt abandoned, though she knew he had believed the doctors when they said this was what she needed. He had not known what the treatments meant. The truth was kept hidden, behind the walls. One morning, the Reaper appeared again, this time not in the white room with the machine, but standing in her own room. His silhouette gleamed in a faint light, tall, hooded, the scythe at his side. He stood behind the doctors as they entered with clipboards, scribbling notes, speaking words she no longer cared to hear. He watched them in silence, his presence colder than their pens, heavier than their judgments. When they left, attendants came to prepare her for departure. Clara rose slowly, leaning on the chair set before her. As she steadied herself, she thought of him. "Thank you," she whispered in her mind. She felt the reply within her, not in words, but in feeling. He told her she would have a beautiful, long life. He would see her again, but not for many years. The wheelchair carried her down the long corridor, past peeling paint and iron doors, past the hollow rooms she would not miss, then through the front doors and out into the daylight. Her family waited beside the burgundy station wagon parked near the steps. Her husband's hand rested on the roof of the car, but her eyes went to the children, their small bodies bouncing, their voices cheering as they cried out her name. Tears streamed down Clara's face. She longed to run to them, but her legs were too weak. Still, her gaze stayed fixed on their joy, and for the first time in months, she let herself believe that life could still be hers. The Reaper did not follow her into the light, but she felt him. He would always be near, and one day, when her years were done, he would return. But not today. Today, she was going home. The end.